Recently, I was thinking about Digimon Adventure 02, as one does. Despite some story shortcomings, it's been a personal favorite of mine for as long as I can remember. The sense of legacy, continuity, passing the torch to the next generation, and at the very center of this season I love is a goggle-headed main character that I think is the perfect Digimon protagonist. And I think that's because whether you like it or not, Davis is you. Or at least Kid You, the kid that grew up on Series 1 and idolized that cast of characters. As kids, we thought we were Tai, but we were never Tai. You weren't Matt, you weren't even TK. TK was at least on those adventures with those older kids you admired. We were Davis, the kid who wished he was Tai, who tries to convince himself and others that he could measure up. Some of my favorite stories and favorite characters in all of fiction are those who have to deal with the weight of following up on greatness that came before them. I'm thinking about Kid Gohan trying to live up to the legacy of Goku, of Avatar Korra navigating the pressure and expectations to reach the same highs as Avatar Aang. I'm thinking of Roxas in Kingdom Hearts 2, who in his limited time on screen is bombarded with Sora comparisons with characters in the game and the player holding the controller going, this guy's not Sora, where's Sora? We don't want Roxas, we want the guy from the first one. Davis is a special variation on one of those characters, with him being the new lead of the second Digimon series, one that shares a world and continuity with the first. The audience immediately and understandably compares him to Tai, this now legendary leader from the first series. We, the audience, aren't the only ones drawing parallels between Tai and Davis though. Characters in the show do it too. The intro scene for Davis is TK mistaking him for Tai. Unlike a Takuya from Frontier or Takato from Tamers, who may have to face fan comparison to those who came before, those guys didn't exist in the same world as Tai. Davis and Tai, on the other hand, share a world. He faces this uphill battle where he's been compared to the now legendary hero of Series 1 by viewers, by his fellow Digidestined, and by himself in his own head. As an overthinker myself, and as a younger sibling growing up, I always found Davis's constant comparison to his elder statesman to be deeply relatable. He'll never be Tai though, because nobody but Tai can be Tai, and Davis certainly can't be the idea of Tai that exists in his mind because that kid doesn't exist. Throughout the series, Davis becomes less of a Tai copycat, and funny enough, he kind of achieves this when he stops overthinking. Davis and Vmon become the lovable, no-thoughts, head-empty heroes of the Digimon franchise throughout the story, as Davis gets more comfortable with the fact he isn't Tai, he isn't Ken, and he's not TK, and that's fine. It reaches the point where him not overthinking things is how, in Act 3, he pushes back against Malomyotismon and pulls his teammates out of the depths of their despair. Trapped in a world with Malomyotismon, the other Digidestined were completely paralyzed by their deepest fears. Davis, who at the start of the story was definitely familiar with thinking way too hard about who he is and what he should do, is the only character who now doesn't spiral into his own mind like the others are. When Malomyotismon goes, "Why aren't you affected by my technique? Are you saying you have no dissatisfaction or worries?" Davis says, "I don't. I have my family and my friends and the Digimon. I have nothing to be worried about," before adding, "I'm not saying it's bad to be worried or unsatisfied. Wanting to improve yourself is important, but messing that up with the power of darkness, I feel it's fairly obvious Malomyotismon's power of darkness is a narrative stand-in for anxiety, intrusive thoughts, again, overthinking and spiraling. Just look at the Digidestined in this scene. TK, Kari, Ken, the others were stuck in their own heads, whereas Davis, at this point in the story, was not. Digimon is, to me, this ultimate underdog franchise. I think that's why a lot of us like it. Constantly the victim of comparison, always number 2 in the public consciousness. Pokemon or Digimon, Tamagotchi or Digivice V-Pets. There are even internal comparisons all the time, like Digimon Adventure 1999 or Digimon Adventure 02. And so having the hero of Series 2 be this kid who isn't Tai kind of fails at trying to be Tai before finally winning by not competing and instead doing his own thing. That's kind of Digimon. That's the story of the Digimon franchise. It's a series that's not without its faults, a little rough around the edges, underwhelming at times, and ultimately never going to be what you might want it to be. And that's why I think Davis, with all his faults and his inability to measure up to Tai, is the perfect lead for this series. Digimon Adventure 02 is a season that is burdened with comparison, needing to live up to what came before. And Davis is a character who is burdened with comparison, with his friends, his own mind, and the real-world viewers needing him to live up to what came before. Davis is essential for 02 to work. He embodies Digimon Adventure 02 and kind of the Digimon franchise as a whole. And that's why he'll always be one of my favorites. Thanks for watching this one. It's been on my to-do list for quite some time, as I've been a huge fan of this character and this season for over 20 years, but never articulated why. By the time this video goes up, we should have just hit 50,000 subscribers, so I want to say thank you for supporting the channel. It's amazing to me that this started as a stay-at-home hobby back in March 2020, just as a way to document my thoughts on the 2020 Digimon Adventure reboot. And now in 2024, there are over 230 videos, 13 million views, and 50,000 people have said, yeah, I want to see more of that. Really, really cool. Thanks again. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.